everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Connect with Eleanor. I hope you had a great weekend because I sure did. On today's episode of Connect with Eleanor, we're going to be exploring common defense mechanisms, how they manifest in our lives, practical stages for recognizing them, and how we can actually overcome them. So please stay tuned and continue with me on this journey as we learn more about defense mechanism. But before I continue, kindly share, subscribe, tell your loved ones. Connect with Eleanor is a platform where we can always learn, because like I always say on my channel, learning is a journey. It's not a place that you get to immediately. Episode of Connect with Eleanor. Now let's start with what is defense mechanism. Defense mechanisms are conscious and unconscious strategies that we use to protect ourselves from stress, from anxiety, or uncomfortable emotions. They can be thought patterns, they can be behaviors, they can be habits. We might not even be aware that we are actually using all these defense mechanisms, but they help us avoid feeling vulnerable. They help us avoid having uncomfortable conversations. They help us, they prevent us from getting rejected and overwhelmed sometimes when issues happen. So that is why these defense mechanisms, they manifest themselves. But one thing about defense mechanisms is that even though they offer short-term relief, they can distort our version of reality. They can affect our relationship. They can prevent us from actually dealing with the real issue at hand. They can hold us back from reaching our full potential. That is why they are very, very dangerous. So now we're going to be exploring the common defense mechanisms that we have and how they manifest in our lives. And when we see ourselves manifesting all these things, how we can actually overcome them. Because there are some of it that they are unconscious. People have to tell you before you even know that you're actually doing it. So let's get right into the defense mechanisms that we have. One is projection. The first defense mechanism that we're talking about is projection. Now it says here that projection is a defense mechanism where an individual attributes their feelings, thoughts, and behaviors to someone else. Now, this type of defense mechanism happens when people try to project their feelings, their thoughts to someone else. Let's say an issue happened between two people and this person is like, you were the one that did this, you were the one that did it. Instead of actually taking time to review the situation, whether they were the one that caused it in the first place. The signs that you're actually manifesting projection is that now, people that use projection, they blame other people for their own mistake. They never take responsibility. They attribute their feelings and their thoughts to other people. They can be like, you're making me feel angry. They can say statements like, you're making me feel angry, instead of them saying that I am angry. It's very different. The fact that someone does something that really gets you upset doesn't mean you should actually be upset. You made that choice to be upset. So you arrogating that responsibility to the other person by saying that you're making me feel angry is a bit to, blame the other person for the way you're feeling. Like I always say, you're not responsible for the way other people will treat you, but you're responsible for the way you interpret those things and whether you let them get to you or not. So you getting angry is a choice. It's not because what the other person did to you, but because of the way you actually dealt with that issue. People that have projection, they also feel like other people, they have hidden agendas. There are people like they might be very, they might not be people that are trustworthy, but they always find issues with others. They always feel like, this person is not to be trusted, this person is not to be trusted, whereas they are the ones that they are not trustworthy. This kind of people, they always see the bad things in people. And the truth is that thing that they see in other people is like a mirror that is mirroring what they're actually doing in their lives. It's not their fault, like I said. It's a form of defense mechanism, so that you won't be able to take responsibility for your actions. Find out that whether consciously or unconsciously, you find out that you're using this projection. How can you overcome them? The number one thing is that you must be aware. You must be aware that you're projecting your own feelings to other people. You must be aware that you're not taking responsibility. Because yes, you are not responsible for how people will treat you, but you are responsible for how you interpret it. Will you let that person's bad habits get to you? And when it happens, will you blame that person for the way you're feeling, or will you take responsibility for your own emotions and for your actions? And another thing is that you need to acknowledge your emotions. Now, because this person said something to you, you became upset. And because of that, you started ruminating over the issue. You started having sleepless nights. You chose to. Like I always tell people, there might be people that will treat you bad in this life. There might be people that will do something that will hurt you. But it is your choice to decide that you will not be hurt. It is your choice to decide that you will not let what this person did to you get to you. And another way you can work on this projection defense mechanism is take responsibility for your actions. Stop blaming people for the things that happen in your life. Like I always say, you might not be able to control the external aspect of your life, but your internal life is something that you need to take responsibility for. Then another thing is that you must practice empathy, because when you're blaming other people that okay, it was because of the way this person spoke to me, that is why I got upset. You don't really know what the person is going through. So try and empathize with others at times. Like, okay, maybe this person is going through something. Make excuses for them, at least to some extent. That, okay, let me just give this person a benefit of that it is what they went through or what they have been going through that made them behave like this. Then you can just have an honest conversation with the person that this thing that you did to me really upset me. I'm not saying it is your fault, but I didn't like the way you treated me. So please adjust it. And if this person now decides that they still want to continue to treat you anyhow, then you can now take your own actions towards probably avoiding the person or limiting your conversations with such a person. So make sure you communicate with the person instead of blaming the person or trying to shift the responsibility for your emotions onto others and say this person is the one making me feel upset, this person is the one doing this to me. The truth is you are responsible for the way you interpret the things that happen in your life. Then the second defense mechanism is the blocking or the repression. Now it involves when an individual pushes an uncomfortable or traumatic memories into their unconscious mind. Traumatic memories that happened to them probably in the past. These people push them in their unconscious mind, and they make these memories inaccessible to them, to the point that when you ask them that, okay, what happened in your childhood, what are the things that you went through, they might not really be able to recall exactly what happened. Now, this case of blocking has happened to me before. There were some memories that I personally selected, or should I say my brain unconsciously selected those memories and actually blocked them out. There's some things in my childhood that if you ask me that, okay, well, what happened around this time, I might not be able to give you the exact details of what happened, because I blocked those memories because I wanted to protect myself, because the trauma was just too much for a child to handle. So I had to block those memories. But it is very, very dangerous because, in the bid to block some bad memories that you had in the past, you might actually block some good ones too. That is why, but it's not something you can control. It's an unconscious thing. It's the way the brain protects itself sometimes to block those uncomfortable and traumatic experiences so that you can actually move forward in the future. But for someone like that, when you notice that you're having this blocking or repression, that you cannot recall some traumatic experience, as much as you might tell yourself that you've actually forgotten about it, it is still in your unconscious mind, and it will be affecting some of the decisions you make in your life. You might find it hard to trust people. It happened to me too, because some of the things I went through in my childhood made me not to really trust people like that. I always have this low expectation of people because of the way I was, disappointed in my childhood and all like that. So those things, if you do not work on it, they will still affect you when you get to the level of making and forming strategic relationships with people. So I would suggest that you see a therapist. If you feel like, okay, maybe seeing a therapist is something that is too much for you, start writing those things down. It really helped me a lot when I was overcoming my own childhood trauma. I had to write all those things down. I had to meditate on it. I had to relive those painful memories to be able to let them go. But if you keep repressing these memories, you keep bottling them all inside, and you keep forgetting them, so to say, it will affect you one way or the other in your adulthood. So no matter how much traumatic experience you go through in the past, it is very important for you to confront those things that has happened so that you'll be able to move forward, because you will not grow. You will keep, those things that are in your unconscious memory will keep exhibiting themselves in one area or the other in your life. So you need to work on confronting those memories, whether whether it will be journaling, whether it will be you taking time to, have an honest conversation with the person involved in this issue. You understand? Now, the third defense mechanism that people normally use is the denial. I mean, this one is something that we always do. You might tell yourself that, no, I'm not the one, I don't deny things. Many of us do this one a lot. Now, denial is when an individual refuses to acknowledge an uncomfortable or a painful reality, or to avoid feeling of shame, guilt, and all like that. This one happens a lot, especially with victims of physical abuse. When you notice that there's bruises all over a woman that is married, and you notice that probably is her husband that is actually beating her and all like that, she might try to deny it, that no, it's not like that, he was just angry. They try to deny the reality of the situation. Those kind of people, they avoid the conversation. They try to repress those memories by engaging in a lot of things that will just make them forget what is happening. But the truth is, if they keep putting off this decision that they need to make, if they keep putting off this reality that they have, sooner or later they're going to get themselves in trouble. That's why you see people that they have sex addiction, they have what do we call it, drug addiction, and all these things, in a bit to deny the existence of what is happening in their life. That's why if you notice people that are they are victim of domestic abuse, they will always deny it. It's not his fault. They make excuses for the person, for the guy. They're like, it's not his fault, he didn't mean it. They try to deny the situation, that this is exactly what is happening. This person is treating me bad, and I need to take charge of it and have my own boundaries and actually work on it. But they prefer to live in that fantasy world because that is their own way of not confronting those painful memories. So it happens to many of us that if you ask somebody that, okay, what happened between you and this person in your relationship, they'll be like, nothing happened. They will just deny it. No, it was not like that. He's just somebody that gets angry. He's not a violent person. Or they just say, no, we are fine, everything is okay, in a bit to avoid having that conversation. So it happens a lot with women, even also men that has gone through traumatic relationships. They don't want to talk about it, or they deny the reality of the situation instead of them actually dealing with it. Advice is that talk to someone. It might not be a therapist, it might be a friend. Confide in someone. When people notice that you are being in denial and they let you know, gather information. What actually caused this? What can I do? Find solution to that problem. If it's that you need to confront your spouse, that Mr. Man, the way you're treating me, I don't like it. You keep it if it's that you have to call the authorities involved to solve this issue. But if it is not something of domestic violence, probably is a form of verbal abuse. I don't like the way you talk to me. It happens a lot with friends too. There was a particular point in my life I had a friend like that. She was always saying negative things, always speaking negative words, and I tried to deny it, that she was I tried to tell myself that she's a good friend. It's just because of what she's going through. I tried to make excuses for her, But like I said, when you're making excuses for people, you have to actually be sure that it's like they're actually going through that thing. But like I always say, the fact that you're going through a traumatic experience does not mean you should lash out on others. That's why it's better for you to work on all this childhood trauma and all these things you have, so you will not go around hurting other people and not taking responsibility for it. So then one thing I will say about people that deny is that acknowledge your own feelings. When you see people that are telling you that this thing that you're just denying the reality, this guy is not a good person, he's not treating you right, you are not happy, try and take in those information. Don't see it as them criticizing you. See it as them trying to point you to something that you are not seeing, because you are obviously, whether consciously or unconsciously, trying to deny that uncomfortable situation because you do not want to deal with it. So try to, review the consequences of you trying to deny this. Will you continue having this emotional trauma in a bit to, in a bit to protect that relationship, or still stay in that relationship? But if it's something that is already getting to the marital state, that you're already committed to this person, you can seek professional help if possible, and you can opt out. You understand? If you feel like this thing is endangering your mental health, your mental state. But one thing you will not do is that when people let you know you are in denial, you need to be able to accept it. Denial is something that you need to work on yourself. It's just like people that, when they go through grief, when they lose their loved ones, they get to that denial state. They just tell themselves that it's a lie, this person is still alive. There's a way their brain just reconstructs, and these people, they continue their life as if they didn't lose that person. It will just take one sentence that will just trigger them, and they will remember that they actually lost this person, and they will start crying. But one thing about grief is that the sooner you actually accept it and, at your own pace, because grief is not easy. You understand? Losing somebody is not easy for anybody. But the sooner you confront those uncomfortable emotions, the sooner you can actually move on to your life and to other good memories. Now, the first defense mechanism, that the regression. So I'm going to be explaining that one, is returning to the early stage of development to avoid responsibility due to stress or anxiety. I used to do this unconsciously. I didn't actually know that I was actually exhibiting regression. Sometimes when about 5 years ago, I had this habit of always twisting my fingers. There was a particular way I usually twist my fingers anytime I'm in an uncomfortable situation, or I'm nervous, or I'm anxious, or I'm stressed up. You understand? I didn't know I was doing it until people started telling me that, you are doing this thing. Oh. That was when I started noticing that I was actually doing it. So it happens, for some people, they start biting their nails. For some people, they start sucking their thumbs. For some people, they have temper tantrums. They refuse to take responsibility. Anytime you ask them questions or they're in an uncomfortable situation, they start biting their fingernails. When you see people that they bite their fingernails and they're actually adults, not children, you know that there is obviously something wrong. Something that is at the end of that act. You understand? So when you see adults that they are biting their fingernails or they are sucking their thumbs, you obviously know that there is something wrong, because they are now adults. They're not supposed to be doing things that children do. You understand? So now, for people like that, I would say that when people let you know that you're actually doing this, identify your triggers. What are the stressful situations that make you bite your fingernails, looking jittery? What are the things that make you suck your thumb? When you notice those stressful situations, how can you actually resolve them as fast as you can? Because, it's a very addictive habits. It's not something that you actually get over in a day. It's step by step. Like I said, some of it are even unconscious. There's some way that they bite their fingernails. You'll be like, Mr. Man, you're biting your fingernails. They might not even know that he's actually biting his fingernails. So you need to actually solve exactly what is going on and what triggered that sucking of thumb or biting of nails. You understand? Another thing that you have to take responsibility for that situation. Okay, probably you're somebody that when you face the crowd, that's when you start biting your fingernails. How can you work on yourself? How can you improve your self-confidence to be able to have that level of courage to face the audience? So you tackle the situation. Before you know it, that thing you normally do when you're anxious, when you're stressed up, when you feel like people are judging you, to just naturally reduce. So now the fifth defense mechanism is the avoidance. I always do this one a lot. Let me not lie. Like I said, there are some of it that they are unconscious, and there are some of it that they are conscious deliberately. You understand? When I feel like I don't want to have this conversation, I just decide to avoid the person. I just decide to avoid the whole situation at hand, because sometimes I'm scared of how I will handle it. Sometimes I'm scared of what the person will say. Sometimes I'm scared of, I don't want to misbehave. I don't want to say what I'm not supposed to say. So because of that, I just avoid the situation and I run away. Simple as that. But something about people that do avoidance is that it will lead to procrastination. It can lead to, addiction. You withdraw from relationships. For someone like me, anytime maybe I'm having issues with my friends and, a friend of mine like that, I really thought that we're just friends, until he started telling me that, okay, he had feelings and all, and I didn't actually see him like that. But in my mind, I was like, how do I want to deal with this situation? I don't want to hurt this person. I still want him to be my friend. But now he's already developing feelings. So how do I handle it? And funniest thing, it's not like I was giving him mixed signals. But due to my awesome personality, he didn't have a choice but to fall in love. So I had to, at a point, I avoided it. Anytime he starts to talk about you're beautiful, you're this, I'll just change the subject to something else. Or I just tell him, hey, I'm already I can just tell him that, okay, probably maybe we jam each other on the street and we're actually talking. I can just tell him that I'm already going, I have lectures. There's a way I would just avoid the situation instead of dealing with it. But over time, I realized that what I was doing was not good, because indirectly I might be telling him that I'm okay with it, or indirectly I might be telling him that I actually had feelings. So I had to take my time to actually confront it, have an honest conversation with him. As much as I admire you as a friend, I don't see you like that. So it happens like that instead of us dealing with the situation at that, we just avoid the situation or the person. Once you see that you're avoiding uncomfortable situations, try to journal about it. Deal with the issue at hand. It's very important. Talk to people, talk to your friend. Okay, this thing happened. How do you think I can handle it? I'm scared of what this person will say and I don't even know how to go about it. Always friends that are willing to offer you advice on how you can, handle the situation. Let's give you guys an example. I don't know maybe if my friends notice this, but there's something about me that anytime I'm having a conversation, probably, I'm chatting you up or talking and all this things, and you ask me something that I don't want to answer. So you ask me a question that I probably do not want to answer, or probably I'm not sure. Instead of telling you that, okay, I'm not sure of this thing, I need to think about it, I'll just drop a sticker. I know my friends watching this will probably tell you that, Eleanor is number one when it comes to sticker. So instead of me dealing with that situation, I'll just drop sticker. I might probably drop something funny, you understand, just to bring down the tension of the situation, that I don't want to talk about it here. So let me just drop sticker let me just drop this sticker to actually avoid this conversation, you understand. I've been doing it unconsciously until later I realized that I think it was even one of my friends that even told me that, wait, this guy, why do you always like using stickers and emojis, this funny, this thing? But actually, we'll get to one particular defense mechanism that is linked to that. But you guys have an idea now of what avoidance is and how you can actually do it, you understand? So you have to just confront whatever you're trying to avoid, because you cannot avoid it forever. Sixth defense mechanism is the dissociation. You understand? This one is like is a feeling of being disconnected from the outside world. You dissociate yourself from people, from conversations. In fact, you just space out. You're not even here at all. You feel numb, you feel detached, having conversation with people. You're not entirely sure if you're even here at all. You say, yes, okay, no problem, but you're not here. You've actually detached from the situation. So for those kind of people, it's probably due to trauma too. Like I said, there was a particular time in my life. I don't know why, because it's obvious that I've been a victim of these defense mechanisms. So let's just say, by sharing my own, story, you guys would actually pay attention to yours too. You understand? So I remember there was a particular time in my life that, I was writing exams, trying to enter the university as at that time. And, it wasn't really going as fast as I thought it would. So I just decided to dissociate myself. I was listening to music. I just shut down. I just told myself that there's no point. You get, for someone like me, it happens probably when I'm waiting for the result of something that I did. Probably I wrote an exam and, they said maybe the result is going to be out in the next few weeks. And, I'm actually anxious. I'm like, day one, day two. I just tell myself that it's better I dissociate. So most times I just dissociate. Even when my mom is asking me, are you okay? I'm fine, ma. Are you all right? Yes, I'm good. But I've actually detached myself. I'm not feeling anything. I've just decided to just shut everybody out. But that kind of behavior is not good. Because whether you like it or not, you still have to face the reality of the situation. So like I said, many of these defense mechanisms is something that we do. But once we are aware of it, we'll be able to work on it to become better. Because not everybody in your life will understand. Imagine that I was married at that particular time and, I just shut myself out. My partner will be worried. What is wrong, my dear? Is everything okay? It will be too much for him to handle because he won't even know what is going on. So many of us have this defense mechanism that we exhibit anytime we are going through a stressful situation. I understand, but we just have to try to, the more problems you tackle, the more you become an expert at solving issues and problems instead of just avoiding them by this whether conscious or unconscious defense mechanisms that we exhibit as humans. So then the seventh defense mechanism I'm talking about is the humor. I'm a victim of this one. Yes, I accept. It's a defense mechanism that involves, sarcasm, humor, laughter, comedy, trying to cope with stressful situation and unpleasant situation by being funny, by being, making jokes to reduce tension. I always do this one a lot. Anytime I meet new people and probably I'm nervous, that's when I will turn to a comedian. For someone like me that I naturally do not really like making jokes like that. But once I'm in an uncomfortable situation, believe me, I'll start bringing my archive of jokes out and, I'll start making the person laugh, just to avoid that uncomfortable feeling of meeting a new person. Mechanism happens when you're in a bad situation, or, you're using that comedy to distract yourself from actually dealing with the real issue. Anytime I'm in an uncomfortable situation, probably, a particular guy that I like or I admire, and we're having conversations, and obviously I do not know what to say. I'm telling myself that, hey, God, Eleanor, please do not say nonsense. So this guy will not be thinking that you're not somebody that is, that kind of thing. So I'm overthinking. Immediately I find myself overthinking like this. Before you know it, I start making jokes. I start laughing. I start saying, you mean it? And this person will start laughing just to reduce the tension. But I'm trying to avoid getting to know the person. I'm trying to avoid giving my own opinion concerning the issue, because I don't want this person to, judge me. Or it happens like that when you meet new people, because you're telling yourself that I need to, have the first best impression and all of that. So I mostly make jokes in between conversations, because I just want to ease the tension. There are some people that, they are probably looking at, wow, see this beautiful girl, how do I approach her? I mostly do that to make guys feel comfortable when they're having conversations with me. But as much as humor is actually okay in some situations, like when you meet new people, you're trying to reduce the tension. But when it comes to you dealing with your own personal issues, maybe you have something that you went through that is very painful, you lost a loved one, and you're trying to, maybe talk about it with someone, then you start making a joke out of it just to avoid that pain that you're feeling, then there's something wrong somewhere. So humor can be good, but when is something that is affecting your mental health, or is you're actually using it to sweep something under the rug, then humor is very dangerous. So one thing I would say is that recognize the issue that is causing you to make a joke. What is that uncomfortable feeling you're trying to avoid? Be conscious of it. Address the issue directly. You understand? Just address it directly. There's no need to make crack jokes that's not even funny. Well, my own jokes are always funny anyway. But try to, regulate your emotions. Anytime you feel like, okay, I don't want to have this conversation, try to think about why are you trying to avoid the conversation. Is it because you're afraid that this person will judge you? Because like I said, for people that are communicators, we go through these things a lot. We think about 1,000 ways to communicate a particular topic, because we're telling ourselves that, hey, God, I don't want this person to judge me. I don't want this person to think that I'm actually emotionless, or I'm being too objective about things, or I'm not being empathic, you understand? So for people that tend to think a lot when they're having conversations, they're the people that mostly use this defense mechanism just to ease the situation, you understand? Make it easy for them to, to have the conversation. As much as it is good when you're meeting new people, you can just throw, some jokes to just ease the tension in the room. But when it comes to you dealing with real issues, you need to work on it instead of just making jokes about it. That's why deal with your emotions. You can have humor, you can make people laugh, but not a healthy one. Like I said, when you're having conversations, not the one that is helping you to evade responsibility or dealing with the issue. If you don't want to have a conversation, maybe you're not comfortable with it, you can just push it off and just tell the person that I'll talk to you about this later, because I'm not comfortable having this conversation with you, depending on the level of trust. But please, let's not use humor to sweep issues that needs to be dealt with under the rug. It's very important you face issues head on, which is what I've also been working on now. So I won't be cracking joke when I actually need to deal with something that is very serious. But when you're having conversations, healthy humors are okay. You can actually crack a joke to ease the tension. But dealing with issues of life is not every time you crack a joke to sweep it under the rug. Very important. Next defense mechanism is the introjection. This one is unconscious imitation. It adopts the attitude of someone else to cope with stress, anxiety, People, they take the characteristics of someone else, especially people that have identity crisis. They are not secure in themselves, so they prefer to just pretend to be somebody they are not. When they go outside, they have something like a persona, you get, because they feel like their real self might not be accepted in the society. So the only way for them to do it is to adopt a persona. It happens for people that are in the entertainment industry, because they do not want people to actually they feel like maybe people might not accept them for who they are, so they actually imitate someone, you get. But it is very, very dangerous, because we are all unique in our own way. For someone like me, the me that I show, the Eleanor that I show on this channel is the real Eleanor. I'm somebody that I take life serious. I try to be intentional about my life. Everything I do on this channel is everything that I'm all about. I'm not trying to pretend to be somebody I'm not. It took me a long time to realize that there is power in uniqueness. Yes, in the past there might have been people that had issues with the kind of person I am. They felt like I was too straightforward. They felt like, what is this girl's problem? Why is she so uptight about life? But that's the way I am, because I feel like this life is a chance, and I have to be intentional about it. As much as I have good relationships with my friends, my loved ones, for people that know me very well, I'm very strict when it comes to life issues, which is what even inspired me working on this channel, because I felt like the only way I could impact my world is to bring people into my own world and the way I do things. That's why most of the topics I talk about on this channel are things that I've dealt with. They are strategies that I've actually used, and they've actually worked for me. You understand? So for someone like this exhibiting introjection, I would suggest that you be authentic. Be aware that you're pretending to be somebody you're not. Then be authentic. There are some of us that we might not be aware, and our loved one will tell us that you're actually pretending. What's going on? You're not like this. You just went out to a party and you became somebody else. What's going on? You don't just start lashing out at your friend. What do you mean by that? I'm myself, of course. I'm this, I'm that. No. You try to take in what that person said and you think about it. The truth is, not everybody will like you. There's a particular book I'm reading currently that says courage to be disliked. Not everybody will like you, but you can actually be your authentic self. The people that will love you for it. Just like someone like me, I have people that do not like my personality, and I have people that love me regardless of what my craziness. I have people that so much love me and so much adore me. So that's the way it is. So you don't have to pretend to be somebody you're not because you want to. Sometimes when I have intelligent conversations with people, they feel like, is Ellie not pretending? Me, I don't pretend though. That's just the kind of person I am. This one is when you try to, an individual redirect. This one happens in couples. Probably a man that had a stressful day at work just gets in and start yelling on his wife. The truth is, his wife is not the source of his problem. He had that issue when he was coming from work, but he had to just look for a safer, acceptable outlet, someone that will actually accept all his craziness without judging him. You understand? So these people, they yell at the wrong person, mostly a family member. Instead of confronting their frustration on people, they take out their frustration on addiction, hobbies, and all these things, just to avoid that uncomfortable feeling. That's what they do. But it is very dangerous, because you're not accepting your own emotions. You're actually lashing out at the wrong set of people instead of dealing with the issue that is going on. It happens to many of us that somebody just asks you, good morning. Yes, what is good about the morning? Why are you greeting me? Yes, what's your problem? And this person will be like, what did I do? Whereas it's not about the person. That you do this displacement a lot, whether consciously or unconsciously, people will not understand what is going on, and you really hurt a lot of people. So you need to be aware of your own emotions. Deal with the issue at hand. Okay, your boss did something that hurt you. Is there a way you can let go of that feeling, or is there a way you can articulate how you're feeling? Instead of you just, my dear, this happened at work, I'm so upset. Why will you do this? Try and have an honest conversation with your family member, instead of you projecting that feeling to them. Someone that did not offend you, and you're obviously just shouting at the person. It's not fair. It's not fair to the person. When you hurt people, it hurts them. So please, we need to work on this displacement, because many people do it alone. They call it passing aggression onto the wrong person, the person that did not know anything. So we need to be careful. Then the 10th one is intellectualization. This one, all my intellectual people, well done ma, well done sir. They do it a lot. You understand? They avoid dealing with an emotional situation, so they focus on the intellectual part, the theory part. Those are the people when you see they say yes, the situation of the emotions of the brain is situated in the these people. When you are having conversations with them, they will never see it from an emotional point of view. They will always be seen as an intellectual point of view. The truth is, when you see people that have intelligent conversations and there is no emotional underlying, there is something wrong somewhere. When you see people that they're just speaking big grammar and there's no form of empathy, there is something wrong somewhere. Maybe you guys are talking about, let me give you an example, you guys are talking about the situation of the country and these people are just speaking big grammar. They're not really talking about how that thing is affecting them emotionally. So these people, they feel like when you're having conversations, you using emotional, you feel like you being emotional about something is a form of weakness. They don't accept the emotional part of themselves. They are not always empathic towards others. That's why you need to be careful, because as much as mostly guys do this a lot because they feel like probably emotion is a weakness. Yes, females are always emotional by nature, so that one is obvious. But men, they always try to have intellectual conversations, but the day they will break down, that day you'll probably be crying like a baby. So, for people that use intellectual conversations to cover up the emotional part of situations, please try to work on it. Try to be aware of your own emotions. That's why if you notice those kind of people, if they have issues with their friend, probably they fight with their friend, they'll be like, actually what happened is that, the way I spoke to him and the way he also spoke to me, I feel like the environment was what caused the issue between both of us. I feel like maybe when he, instead of you saying that, what this person did really hurt my feelings, it's different. You are trying to create an intellectual excuse for what happened, whereas your emotions are involved. Every relationship is connected to the emotions too, you understand? So you don't use intellectualism to actually cover up the emotional part. Both of them need to be balanced. You understand? There must be balance between the intellect and the emotions. It's very important. The will, the body, soul, and spirit, they work together. Your will, your emotions, your intellect, every single one of them, they work together. They are holistic in nature, so you cannot remove one. These are all the defense mechanisms that I have for us. I know that by me saying all this, many of us have realized that we do this one, whether consciously or unconsciously. So we need to work on all these defense mechanisms. This episode is that it makes us understand that we actually do all these things because we are trying to avoid uncomfortable situations. So I would like you guys to please, work on all these things, avoiding taking responsibility for your own actions. Stop using humor, sarcasm, and all these things to avoid the situation. Stop being in denial. Try to work on all those things. And for many of us that we are not aware that we are actually using this defense mechanism, when people point it out to you, try to be open so that you can learn and actually work on it. Like I said, defense mechanism is just a way that our brain protects itself, the way we protect ourselves from uncomfortable situations. But you cannot continue like that because you will always find yourself in an uncomfortable situation in life. So thank you everyone for watching today's episode of Connect with Eleanor. I hope I was able to make you understand some of the coping strategies that we normally use to avoid stress and anxiety and how you can actually work on it. And please, in case people tell you, in case you're not aware of it, be aware of it now and start making conscious effort to stop using those defense mechanisms to avoid stress, because you will always face stress. Now, what now determines the outcome is you working on healthy ways that you can cope with it, healthy ways that you can deal with those uncomfortable situations instead of avoiding them. I love you guys so much, and I know you know that. Keep subscribing, keep liking, keep working on all these things. I love you guys. I hope I will see you next week, working on all these defense mechanisms and dealing with the situation of life and facing it head on, like the champion and like the greatness that you are. Because you have the power to do the right thing. You have the power to be the greatness that God has called you to be. I love you guys so much. Bye.